So we're here to talk about feminism and the Me Too movement. I brought back the fan favorite, Reem. You guys all loved her last time. Say hello, Reem.
Hi, everybody.
So we're going to be talking about feminism and the Me Too movement and their relation to the Vic Mignogna movement because part of the reason why the Vic Mignogna movement has gone so badly for Vic Mignogna is because of feminism and the Me Too movement and how prevalent they are in American culture. So it would be interesting to see someone's perspective of someone who isn't in America and how they think the court case would go in their in their place of origin, if that makes sense. So Reem is going to tell us about how she thinks this court case and the tweets and all these false swattings, how all this would go in Saudi Arabia. How do you think that Vic Mignogna's case would have played out in Saudi Arabia?
As you all know, Saudi Arabia is more of a conservative country. Slander very seriously. So, for example, let's say if or Jamie basically publicly slandered him on Twitter without proof, he that very seriously. They probably would be jailed. Any of this that happened. And probably be investigated. And especially when it comes to, slander of sexual harassment or any sexual crimes, is so severe. The punishment of slander, especially like when it comes to sexual crimes, the punishment can end up even being, if you guys know what whipping is, of the slander and the defamation case. So yeah, it's basically it's public whooping 80 times. So it's very, very serious here. But if now the only difference of this case that can change here, like we all said, from the I stand Vic side, if they had proof. Now, for example, if Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi did slander him online, but they had proof, then it can change a little bit, but they will still take it seriously, and the government would probably tell them to shut the Twitter down. There's somebody and run with it, So yeah, it's pretty touchy here. It's not as easy as it's in the West.
That's what I was going to bring up. Like even in Saudi Arabia, where you said that, oh, if they have evidence, they would obviously do something to Vic, and I agree. In America, it would be the same here. But I think that you would agree that they would probably be like, okay, I don't know why you guys tweeted about this. If you had evidence, you should have just came to law enforcement. We would have handled it.
Yeah, of course. Like here, if you have evidence, in fact, even the police encourages you, come to us, press charges, slandering, and especially when it comes to the point where it destroys somebody's life without evidence, taken very seriously here, and it wouldn't go on as long as it did, like in the Vic Mignogna case.
So, speaking of the Me Too movement, the entire premise of the movement is sexual assault victims, namely women. Let's be honest, it focuses more on women. They come out, tell their stories of sexual assault, abuse, rape against the people who raped or sexually assaulted them, correct? So, with your explanation of how the situation would go in Saudi Arabia, where they would get into some serious trouble if they slandered him online without any evidence, a lot of people in the Me Too movement would argue that's going to stop women from coming out and telling their stories because they're only going to believe them if they have evidence. So, do you really think that type of law in Saudi Arabia oppresses women and keeps them from speaking out against their abusers?
That's an interesting question, but for personally, I don't think so. I don't think it oppresses women. In fact, I think it kind of both sides of, like I said, liars, possible liars, or malice. At the end of the day, humans lie. People manipulate for vengeance or for personal reasons. So there's a need of evidence. It kind of protects both sides from destroying each other's lives. But I kind of see the point where it might oppress women from coming out. Like I said, the whole point is, no, even here in Saudi Arabia, you can come out with your story. I mean, not necessarily publicly, but you can speak out, and people will listen to you. It's okay. I'll listen to you. I'll believe you. I'll even help you through therapy. Destroy somebody's life publicly without evidence. It doesn't work here. If there's no evidence, at least privately or something. Public slander is, it's whatever the crime was. It's very, very huge. It just doesn't work here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point on it. How it might prevent women from kind of being a little bit afraid to tell their stories. But I just want to give my opinion here real quick because a lot of people in the comments have been yelling at me to give my opinion and not just let the other person keep talking. So, for me
Go ahead.
personally, I just find it interesting that we have an exception with how women are handled when we talk about crime. So, for example, in America and in the Me Too movement and feminism as a whole in the Western world, they want women to be able to speak their stories, right? However, they also do not want those women to be obligated to present evidence. So, me personally, as a person, not as a man, not as a straight man, uh, me just as a person, I just want to wonder why do I have to present evidence if I say that somebody stole my car, but a woman doesn't have to present evidence if they say that someone raped them or sexually assaulted them? They're both crimes. They both need to be handled by law enforcement. And if you accuse somebody of a crime, similarly to me accusing someone of stealing my car or Monica Rial accusing Vic Mignogna of sexually assaulting her, I have to prove it. She has to prove it. That's how it's always worked. So why do women get this exception? I really don't understand that.
I agree. Now, I do see the other party's view on the situation because being sexually abused and raped is a lot more common. So I can see that why it's a little bit more believable and accepted. However, the difference is, and there's a huge standard. Now, if a man came out, woman sexually abused me, they'd laugh it off. They'd say, "Oh, we cannot do anything to her unless you bring us evidence that she abused you or sexually harassed you." They believe her in a second. Like they wouldn't even be needed to present evidence or proof or anything. So there's a huge double standard there.
I think this perfectly ties to your point that Reem was talking to me about before we were recording about the whole Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation. I don't know if you all know about that, but Johnny Depp, famous actor, was accused of abusing his wife, girlfriend. I'm not sure, but
Wife, I
his
think.
significant other. But in reality, it was proven that she was actually abusing him, and Reem brought that up, and that's a very great point that could supplement your point that you just made about double standards with sexual assault and violent crime against men. So, what's your opinion on Johnny Depp being abused by women?
See, that's the thing. Amber Heard, when she first came out with these allegations, people believed her in a heartbeat. Like there wasn't even any question about it. So people believed her and everything. He got blacklisted from some movies, from some production studios. He lost several jobs. It kind of destroyed his career a little bit. But first of all, he kind of fought it off. Then now, when you see what happens, that she abused him to the point where she smashed a vodka bottle and severed his finger, bruises all over his face, and she swore under oath that she's the one that abused him. It kind of is a huge shock because this is the double standard. People didn't even question her at first. But if it was Johnny Depp that came out first and said she abused me, people wouldn't have him at all. Bring evidence if that was true. So that's my whole issue with this Me Too movement. Now, however, I do agree women should be more comfortable to come out and to face their abusers. However, when we talked about it before, certain party or a certain individual huge power, they can weaponize it. And this is what kind of the Me Too movement has turned out to be, sadly, these days.
I kind of wanted to counter argue one point that you brought up earlier about how you could see the opposite side's point about sexual assault and rape, because that's a lot more common than, let's say, a car getting hijacked, right? But I would also argue that that's a lot easier to prove, especially in a case of rape. So, like, let's say, I mean, the usual case is a man raping a woman, correct? Especially in the Me Too movement. So let's say a man rapes a woman, right? That should be very easy for her to prove that he raped her in terms of, semen traces in her body and all that, type of those gory details that I don't really want to talk too much about on the video. But she should be able to go to a gynecologist and easily be able to prove that someone raped her. And I know people bring up the argument that, oh, women don't want to do that because it's embarrassing and demeaning to the woman to answer these questions about getting raped and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, but that's just a byproduct of law enforcement. Law enforcement has to find out that you're telling the truth, and they're going to ask you some crude questions, or they might have you go through some crude experiments so that they can see, like the gynecologist can see, yes, it's obvious that she has been raped. You know what I mean? So that type of stuff is a byproduct of the law enforcement system. And if you don't want to abide by what law enforcement tells you to do when they're trying to prove you correct in your accusation of somebody else, then I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to get justice. You need to be willing to abide by the rules of law enforcement if you want someone to get justice, because we can't take the benefit of the doubt and believe what everyone says, because if we did, then Johnny Depp would be in jail right now, even though he was the one getting abused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. See, that's the thing. The bystand that kind of is kind of sad what happened to the Me Too movement. And I just wish the thing is, like you said, rape is easier to prove. Like there's rape kits done. There's these kinds of things that you kind of have to go through. It could be humiliating for the woman, but you have to do that to basically lock up these rapists in jail. You don't want them, going on about their lives, doing whatever they want. With what you said.
And if you abide by law enforcement and then you get the proof that you need, the guy will be thrown in jail probably for life for rape. If someone has been proven wrong to rape, depending on the state and the country, they're usually either given the death penalty or given 25 to life. And the chances of him getting raped in prison is actually very high. So when we were talking about proving rape and how rape is easier to prove than, like, let's say the example I used, car hijacking, I know a lot of people in the comments or people who are just skeptical about our point of view will be like, but this isn't a rape case we're talking about. We're talking about sexual assault, right? Even for that, I could tell you that that's very easy to prove, especially in the connotation that Monica Rial claims that it happened in public at conventions. Pretty much every convention I've ever seen, and it's pretty much like lawfully required for conventions to have both cameras and security for the safety of the voice actors, since they're like, celebrities, they're like public figures. So there should have been cameras when Monica Rial got publicly sexually harassed. Same thing with Jamie Markey, because she claims that he sexually harassed her as well, grabbed like a handful of her hair or some shit. And when people were telling her, like, do you have any camera proof? She was making these snide remarks of, oh, so do you expect me to pull my phone out of my pocket and record him right when he's doing it? We don't mean from your personal iPhone. We mean from convention cameras like CCTV cameras at the site of the convention. Right? So that should be pretty easy to prove if you claim to be getting sexually assaulted in public. Not to mention, Monica Rial said it was happening in front of other voice actors, convention members, and it happened to dozens of other women over decades. And there's not even one camera angle to show that. I find that to be very highly doubtful.
I agree. I mean, for me, I do somewhat agree that sexual harassment is a bit trickier to prove. However, in the connotations that they've said that it happened, and in front of other voice actors and fans, but nobody said anything, nobody stopped him, and there's no proof, there's no witnesses. And Jamie saying, "Oh, he did that at a lobby, at a convention where there's CCTV everywhere." I believe.
I completely agree. Like, in the terms of, I would say, like, in the normal sexual harassment connotation would be like, I don't know, a guy and a girl walking past each other at school, and maybe the guy, I don't know, grabs her ass or something like that. That would be pretty hard to prove. You know what I mean? Like, that is very difficult to prove. But like you just said, it's about the connotation that Monica Rial described it in public at a convention.
I agree. So it's kind of, you can't. And the things that they blame, I stand with Vic's side. Oh, they don't. Oh, they're victim blamers, and they don't believe it. But like, what you think is facts, but they don't add up. So why are you blaming us for it? Because it's kind of hard to believe.
Just for final thoughts, a lot of people in some of the comment sections of the videos that I did discussions on were actually wondering not only your opinion, but everybody else that I interviewed or had a discussion with. What would your how would your preferred outcome for this situation be? Let's say you're in complete control, and how would you handle the situation? What would you have done to Monica, Jesse, Pride Moore, Jamie Markey, Mars Girl? How would you compensate Vic for a lot of the things he's lost. How would you handle the situation, basically?
I think what Vic is doing right now is the right thing. He's suing them for defamation and slander because that's exactly what they did. And I feel like Monica and Jamie and Mars Girl, especially Mars Girl, the one who were about it, have to get some sort of punishment because if people can't do this kind of thing, you know, it's just, you can't do that. You can't lie about somebody, destroy his life, feel like nothing happened. They do deserve punishment, and I do think ANN and IO9 also they need to get some sort of legal punishment. And also, if I had to also add to that, I wish that they'd come out with the truth. They did because you can't do that and just go about no tell the truth. I just and I wish both parties to just move on. Yes, but Vic does need justice and he needs to be compensated because hit on his career, even monetary hit. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping the whole situation ends up being.
Would you have any of the major accusers like Monica? Like, would you have her jailed if she gets proven wrong?
I wouldn't say jail, maybe that's a bit harsh, but maybe a huge fine. I'm not sure.
Interesting, because a lot of people, even when they're on our side, when the video with this, but a lot of people, even though they're on our side with I stand with Vic, the punishments on the way how they would handle this situation actually differs a lot. And like some people think that Monica should be fired from Funimation. Some people want Monica and
Yeah. Oh
Marsgo
yeah.
to go to jail.
And the jail thing is a bit much. Maybe they should go there for a month. I don't know, but maybe they do, but absolutely they do need to get fired from Funimation. That needs to happen.
All right, thanks for coming on. Thank you for giving us your unique perspective. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this situation. Let me know how would you handle this Vic Mignogna situation. Let's say it's over. Let's say his accusers are proven wrong in court. How would you deal with this situation? Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.